Welcome to A Journey in Song, where we look at the life and creative mind of Manda Menzies. She is a South African author, poet, lyricist, and storyteller. We're here to explore how she uses poetry and music to record her life experience, the raw feelings and thoughts she has transposed into song. In this episode, we are going to dive into the lyrics of Free, written by Manda Menzies.
Yes.
You can listen to the full composition on Manda's YouTube channel. And to kind of set the stage for our deep dive today, I want you to imagine you're holding a corrupted hard drive.
Okay.
You can't just, delete a few files to fix it. You literally have to completely wipe the system clean.
Right.
And today we are exploring what it looks like when a human being requires a total system reboot. For you listening right now, consider this deep dive an exploration into the anatomy of a feeling. We all have these really intense, messy emotional experiences, right? But we rarely get to see what it looks like when someone takes that internal chaos, maps it out, and actually builds a structure to hold it.
It's a truly remarkable process to witness. The psychological framework we're really looking at today is a concept called transposition.
Transposition.
Yeah. Often when people experience emotional overwhelm, they just vent.
Right.
But venting is entirely unstructured. It's basically just letting the pressure valve off for a second, and the pressure inevitably builds right back up.
Right, because nothing was actually resolved.
Exactly. What Manda Menzies is doing with this song is entirely different. She's utilizing a highly sophisticated mechanism for emotional regulation.
So we are talking about moving way beyond just, complaining to a friend over a cup of coffee. How does transposition actually work in the brain?
Well, it really comes down to moving an experience from one part of the brain to another.
Okay.
When you are in the middle of subjective internal pain, the kind of trauma that feels like it has no edges and no end,
Yeah, that really overwhelming feeling.
Right, you are largely trapped in the amygdala.
Oh, the fight or flight center.
Fight, flight, or freeze. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's totally chaotic and reactive.
Yeah.
But the act of writing poetry, of giving a feeling, a rhythm, a rhyme, and a narrative arc, forces your brain to engage the prefrontal cortex.
And that's the logic center.
That is the logic and structuring center, yes.
Yeah.
So by actively transposing the feeling into objective lyrical architecture, she is literally putting the emotion outside of herself.
Wow.
The art actually becomes a container for the pain, which allows her to achieve psychological balance.
So you are basically taking the feeling out of your own body and giving it a house to live in so you just don't have to carry it anymore.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
And I think, honestly, almost everyone can relate to the initial trigger she describes in Free. I mean, Manda writes about the urge to go to a place she doesn't know, to not think, just see.
Right.
It's like that universal urge we all get when we, drop a coffee mug on a Tuesday morning, and suddenly we're Googling one-way tickets to a remote cabin in the woods to fake our own deaths.
Exactly.
It's just this desperate instinct to flee,
We laugh about the cabin in the woods, but, it points to a very real coping mechanism. What is so fascinating about Manda's work here is that she doesn't just stop at that initial instinct.
Right. She goes deeper.
She does. She acknowledges the urge for geographical escape, and then she dissects its psychological roots right in front of us. She starts the piece in a state of profound sensory and emotional overload.
Yeah, she says she doesn't want to think.
Right. When she writes that she doesn't want to think, she just wants to see. She is articulating the very first step of the emotional regulation process.
Which is what, exactly?
It's the desperate need to strip away all familiar environments just to quiet the mind.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because it's not just about getting some peace and quiet, is it? She explicitly mentions wanting to stay in places far away to find the bits of me I lost along the way.
Yes.
And this brings me back to that corrupted hard drive analogy. She isn't looking for a vacation.
Not at all.
A vacation is just a temporary pause, right? She requires geographical transience because she needs a completely blank slate to even begin searching for those fragmented pieces of her identity.
Consider how human psychology interacts with our physical spaces. Our environments literally dictate our behaviors. They trigger our habitual neural pathways.
Oh, like muscle memory for acting a certain way.
Exactly. You step into your house, and the environment demands you play the role of the parent or the spouse. You step into the office, and the space demands the employee.
Right.
So if you are deeply burned out or traumatized by those roles, you cannot find your authentic, fragmented identity while standing in the very environment that caused the fragmentation.
Because the environment is telling you who to be.
Every physical cue around you is demanding a performance. Mand is recognizing that to stop performing, she has to remove all the environmental cues.
Wow. For you listening, think about whether you have ever felt that specific bone-deep type of exhaustion, where you feel like you literally have to leave your zip code, your city, maybe even your country, just to remember what your own baseline personality feels like when nobody is asking you for anything.
It's a very common, very powerful realization.
It really is. But running away only works if the problem is strictly geographic. And what Manda realizes next is that her exhaustion isn't from the place itself. It's from the performance she's putting on within it.
Which forces her to confront a much more painful question. The environment might be the trigger, but what exactly was it triggering?
Right.
How did those bits of her get lost in the first place? This is where she moves from the geography of escape straight into the societal and relational expectations that dismantled her.
And she writes about this incredibly well. She notes that there have been so many of me, all being what they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then she follows that up with an admission that I honestly found genuinely shocking in its vulnerability. She writes, "I did my duty, loved more than what was right, gave my loyalty my time and my heart, shared my body, while slowly I fell apart."
Well, slowly I fell apart. I mean, it is a devastatingly precise clinical description of the martyrdom of duty. She is outlining exactly how the authentic self is lost, because it rarely happens all at once in some massive, explosive tragedy.
No, it's slow.
It is. The self is lost incrementally through the performative roles we adopt to survive our relationships and our societal obligations.
I have to be honest, though. When I first read the line, "loved more than what was right," my initial reaction was a bit cynical.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, culturally, we are so heavily taught that selfless love is the ultimate virtue. Like, there's no such thing as loving too much, right?
Right. That's the narrative.
So when someone says they loved more than what was right, it almost sounds like a humble brag. It's like sitting in a job interview and saying your biggest weakness is that you were just too much of a perfectionist. Ah, I see what you mean.
It feels like framing a virtue as a flaw. Can intense loyalty actually be a form of self-betrayal?
It absolutely sounds like a humble brag at first glance, but if you really look at the mechanism of what she is describing, she isn't bragging at all.
Okay.
She is actually diagnosing a severe boundary collapse. When love, loyalty, or duty is demanded at the expense of your own psychological safety and autonomy, it ceases to be a virtue.
Wow, okay.
It becomes self-betrayal. Manda is transposing a very raw vulnerability into objective art here. She is acknowledging that society praises us for this kind of martyrdom. We reward people, especially women, for giving away their time, their heart, and their body.
We call them strong or dedicated or selfless.
Exactly. But the reality is, underneath that praise, the structure of the person is disintegrating.
My duty sounds so incredibly hollow here. It doesn't sound like a romantic declaration at all.
No.
It sounds like a soldier reporting back from a war of attrition that nobody won. Because that is exactly what it is. By writing down that she fell apart while doing her duty, she is naming the exact mechanism of her trauma.
Right.
This isn't generic relationship angst about a bad breakup. This is a highly specific lyrical diagnosis of what happens when you play the roles you were supposed to be. She is looking at the multiple versions of herself, the so many of me, and realizing that every single one of them was a performance for someone else's benefit.
Not a single one of those versions was actually free.
Not one.
Realizing that her love and her duty were actually forms of self-betrayal completely shifts the emotional weight of the situation. It's no longer just about escaping to a place she doesn't know.
Right.
It's about calculating what this realization is going to cost her to fix. And this naturally leads right into what I see as the mathematical core of the song.
The painful mathematics of liberation. Yes. The chorus of this song is entirely about calculating a cost that she doesn't actually know how to pay yet.
She lays it out so clearly. She writes that she knows what it is like to mourn for those she has lost. She knows how to count that cost. But she admits she never learned the price for the freedom I have earned.
The emotional architecture Manda builds in these lines is just staggering. She is juxtaposing two entirely different types of pain, and she's comparing the societal frameworks we have for dealing with them.
Okay, so break that down for us.
Well, on one hand, you have grief, mourning the loss of others.
Which is an awful, terrible experience, obviously, but as she says, she knows how to count it. It is culturally familiar.
It is entirely culturally understood. We have anthropological structures for mourning. We have funerals. We bring people casseroles. We send sympathy cards.
Right, there's a whole system for it.
Exactly. We have a shared collective understanding of what grief looks like and how long it's supposed to last. It's a known quantity. But then she pivots to the second type of pain, the price of freedom.
And there are no casseroles for that.
No casseroles. There are no societal structures for the grief of emancipation. It is entirely uncharted territory.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. This is where the concept of freedom gets flipped entirely on its head. We are so conditioned to think of freedom as, throwing your hands up in the air, a huge smile on your face while the credits roll.
The happy ending.
Right, a purely joyous, celebratory release. But she frames freedom as something really heavy. She says it's something she earned, but she's terrified of the price tag.
Yeah.
Earning freedom after playing a performative role for so long isn't like stepping out of a dark room into the sunlight. I think it's more like discovering a load-bearing wall in your house is full of rot and you have to tear it out.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to put it.
Like, yes, the room is suddenly much bigger and more open, right?
Yeah.
But the structural integrity of your entire life is compromised. You literally have to rebuild the foundation from scratch. And for you listening, I really want to emphasize how beautifully Manda captures the isolating reality of true independence here.
It is a brilliant way to conceptualize the mechanism of true independence, because emancipation actually requires the death of the performative self. To be free, Manda had to stop being all the things she was supposed to be.
Right.
She had to stop doing the duty that was slowly destroying her. But think about the cascading effects of that choice.
What happens next?
Exactly. When you stop playing those roles, the people who relied on you playing them might just leave. The relationships that were built entirely on your self-betrayal will collapse.
Wow.
The cost of that earned freedom is often profound, terrifying isolation.
Because nobody is coming to save you, but also nobody is there to tell you who to be anymore. You are standing in the wreckage of the load-bearing wall you just tore down, and the silence is just deafening.
And this brings us right back to the science of emotional regulation and why the act of transposition is so vital right here.
Okay, tie it back to the brain.
Imagine trying to hold that overwhelming paradox inside your own mind. The crushing weight of a freedom you fought so hard for, only to realize it feels terrifying instead of joyful.
It would make you crazy.
Left inside the amygdala, that paradox would be completely paralyzing. It would trigger a massive panic response. But by articulating this specific paradox on paper, by turning the fear of the unknown cost into a tangible chorus, she regulates the emotion.
She gives it a structure.
She literally creates a boundary around the fear.
She is taking the amorphous terror of isolation and just boxing it into a stanza.
Precisely.
So let's trace the arc of what she has accomplished so far. She starts by wanting to physically run away to a new geography to escape the noise.
Right.
She identifies that the noise is actually the sound of all these performative versions of herself she created out of duty.
Yeah.
Then she realizes that killing off those fake versions to earn her freedom comes with a heavy, isolating cost that she doesn't know how to pay. So how does a person resolve that massive psychological knot?
By closing the emotional loop through the completion of the art. The shift in the narrative in her final stanza provides the resolution, and it represents a complete reorganization of her internal landscape.
She writes, "It doesn't matter now, not anymore. Now that I know that I am free to be me no matter where I go."
If we look at the trajectory of our discussion, remember exactly how she started. She was in a state of sensory overload, demanding physical distance. I want to go to a place I don't know.
Yeah, her entire solution was based on changing her external geography.
Right. The belief that the system reboot strictly required a new location. But look at the incredible pivot she makes here, no matter where I go.
Oh, wow.
Through the psychological process of writing this song, by systematically mapping her fragmentation, defining her duty, and calculating the strange, heavy grease of her earned freedom, she had actively processed the trauma.
The external geography no longer matters because the internal state is secure.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter now. That phrase holds so much weight. For you listening, I want you to really absorb the reality of what just happened in these lyrics. The song itself was the cure.
Yes, it was.
Manda didn't actually have to go to many places far away to find the bits of herself. She found them by transposing the chaos into the lyrics. By building this lyrical container for her pain, she doesn't have to carry the raw feeling in her body anymore. The art is holding the pain for her.
The transposition is officially complete. The subjective suffering has been transformed into an objective reality.
Which is just incredible.
She has achieved internal resolution, and in doing so, she has severed the need for external validation, for performative roles, or for physical escape.
Right.
Free to be me, no matter where I go, is a declaration of absolute psychological sovereignty. She is grounded entirely in herself.
It is such an incredible journey to witness. To go from that desperate, frantic need to escape in the very first stanza, walking through the uncomfortable reality of her own self-betrayal and the martyrdom of duty, confronting the terrifying math of what true freedom actually costs, and then arriving at this quiet, unshakable peace.
It really is a journey.
She used the structure of poetry to literally write herself back to safety. It is profound masterclass in how art doesn't just reflect life. It can actually repair the underlying machinery of our minds.
It absolutely can repair us.
Mhm.
And as we close this analysis of Manda's emotional architecture, there is a final lingering thought that her journey naturally brings to the surface. It expands beyond the specific lyrics we've discussed, but it feels essential to the concept of earning one's freedom.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. What is it?
Well, Manda started her journey wanting to find the bits of me I lost along the way.
Right, the missing pieces.
When a person goes through profound trauma, or when they spend years dismantling the performative versions of themselves that society demanded, it raises a difficult truth.
What's the truth?
Is it possible that true freedom means accepting we can never actually get those original pieces back?
Oh,
The person you were before the fragmentation, before the duty and the self-betrayal, might be permanently gone. Perhaps the ultimate price of the freedom Manda speaks of is realizing that the authentic me you are finally free to be today cannot be a pristine restoration of the past.
it can't just be put back together exactly how it was.
No. It must be built entirely from what survived the journey rather than what was lost.
Built entirely from what survived. That is a heavy, beautiful thought to carry with us. Thank you for walking through this incredible piece of emotional transposition with me today.
It was my pleasure.
And to you, our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this exploration inspires you to look at how you process your own messy, beautiful, complicated feelings. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do with your pain is build a structure to hold it. We encourage you to embrace your own journey in song.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of what survives.